Welcome back to yet another episode of the Kenyan Christmas Throwdowns. I just have to say that I am super excited about this series, and I didn't know that the reception was going to be this crazy. A lot of you have been showing me a lot of love on my Instagram, on my YouTube, and in the comment section. A lot of you guys were bothered with the fact that I didn't use salt in my mbuzi fry. So what we're going to do today on today's chicken recipe, as the title suggests, is we're going to use salt. And we're also going to make the chicken very sensual because you're going to need to slurp on that bad boy. Let's get into this throwdown. So for this recipe, you're gonna need to give it a lot of attention, actually, guys. So first things first, let's get into our ingredient list, right? We're gonna need some tomatoes, which are 2 tomatoes, and I just diced up. We're gonna need 1 onion. You can use red, you can use white. I had white on hand, so we're gonna use that. We're gonna need about 4 to 5 cloves of garlic. We're gonna need some Dania, aka cilantro stems, which I've chopped up. We're also gonna need some of the leaves of the Dania. We're gonna need 2 of this amazing fresh rosemary stems, or rosemary rather. And we're also going to need half of the chicken. So a pro tip that a lot of you do not know is that you can go to Santos, the place that I usually buy all my chicken, or rather all my meat mostly, and you can request for the size of the chicken that you want based on your pricing. So if you tell them that you want one for 500 shillings or 600 bob, they will look for that kind of chicken and put it on the scale and weigh it for you. I got a 500 bob chicken. I made sure to tell them to take off the skin, and they weighed it. I have left the link below of Santos' place and their phone number for those of you who would like to get your meat at a steal at City Market. In the meantime, since we have all our ingredients like more or less prepped, I'm going to be sharing with you what we need to add into the chicken in terms of spices, especially in order to spice up the chicken, and then we can start frying it. We're going to ensure that today we don't miss out on any salt because, again, last time you guys were really in your feelings about the salt issue. So we're going to start off with some salt. I'm going with like 2 pinches of the salt right here. And then next we are going to be adding in some black pepper. We're going to go with like 3/4 of a teaspoon for that. And then we're going to be adding in some garlic powder, despite the fact that we're going to be using some fresh garlic. So we're going to be adding in some garlic powder in here, and we're going to go with like a teaspoon and a half. Yeah, 1.5 teaspoons. And then lastly, we're going to be adding in our paprika. And paprika, you can find it in any of your leading supermarkets. You can get Spanish, you can get sweet. So for this, we're going to go with 2 teaspoons actually, because we really want the color to pop on the chicken. And then lastly, we're going to be taking 1 juicy lemon that I've cut into half, and we're going to squeeze this into here, like so. It's okay if the seeds fall in here, because, I mean, you're going to know better than to add them. We're going to use the whole lemon, and I got a really big juicy one, actually. Oh my God, it's so juicy. And then I'm gonna mix this all up together. Now I know someone is probably gonna be asking me, why am I using a glove? Well, why not? I actually don't feel like I want to deal with my hands having paprika prints on them, so I'm just gonna be using my glove actually. You can use your hands, of course, to mix all this in together. So as you can see, the chicken is well coated with the spices, and since now it's well coated, we're gonna go into the next step, which is practically, I don't want to say braising, but we're just gonna like brown the chicken so that the flavor can seal inside the chicken. We're gonna get our pan nice and hot, like really hot. Then we're gonna add in about 2 tablespoons of cooking oil. We're gonna swirl this baby around, make sure the whole pan or pot has, of course, the oil. Once it gets nice and hot, we're gonna add in our chicken. Now that our oil is hot, we're gonna add in our chicken. If you're the type of person who likes your skin on your chicken, you should always start with the skin side down so that the skin browns. It's been about 2 minutes and I'm certain the chicken has browned, so we're gonna flip them over. Things in this pot smell so good. So as you can see, the skin over here, or rather the top part, has browned. So that's what essentially we want on both sides. Really, like lightly, not over browned, okay? We're not trying to go overboard because we still have to cook this in the stew and we don't want overcooked chicken. Right now we're gonna take the chicken out. Now everything is gonna cook in the same pot. I'm talking about the stew is gonna be made in the same exact pot that you made, that you pan fried your chicken. So we're gonna be adding in a little bit of olive oil. You can still go with cooking oil if you would like, or if that's what you have at home. You don't necessarily have to stick to olive oil. We're gonna add in about 1/2 tablespoon, and then we're gonna add in our onions. We're gonna add in 1 clove of garlic, or rather 2. And then we are just going to add in about a handful of this cilantro stems. So far we've been cooking things on medium-high because we wanted the onions to cook. I've just turned on the heat just a little bit to, let's say a medium-lowish high. And now I'm gonna add in the tomatoes. Just gonna stir them in, spread them around, of course, and then sprinkle in our spices and then let the tomatoes cook with our spices. We're gonna start off with some cumin. About 3/4 teaspoon. Next up is black pepper. I'm gonna go in with 1/2 teaspoon. Lastly, we're gonna add in our garlic powder. And in order to let the tomatoes cook, we're just gonna cover it. Turn down our heat to medium-low and let the magic just happen. 2 minutes, the tomatoes have actually cooked down, and the best part is now you can just mush them like so. So we're just gonna crush them down. I'm also gonna be adding in some salt into the tomatoes because that's one thing that I did not do. So I'm gonna add in a huge pinch of salt. I'm gonna be adding in the rest of the cilantro stems and one of these little sprigs of rosemary. I'm gonna stir this in. Everything with food is all about layering of the flavors. You don't want to rush them. You just want everything to be layered and to be very well married together. This is 1 teaspoon, huge heap of tomato paste. We're going to throw that in there. And then we're going to be adding in our water to thin out the tomato paste. We're gonna turn up the heat actually so that it can come to a simmer. Now, as everything is coming to a simmer, I've just tasted. There's gonna be a little bit of adjustments that I'm gonna make. One, I'm gonna be adding in just a little bit more salt. And two, I'm also going to be adding in some garlic powder as well. The most important thing about cooking as well is that when you're cooking, you need to adjust as you go. You need to see what's missing, what flavors you wanna add more of. So don't just think just because the recipe said these things, you should stick to it. You can adjust it as you go. So in goes the salt. I feel like those are like 2 pinches. Might be a little bit too crazy, but we're gonna add in our garlic powder into here. I'm gonna be adding in the rest of our garlic, fresh garlic, which was the 2 cloves. Perfect. I need it to taste. And since the sauce is to perfection, I'm gonna turn it down to low and then add in our chicken. Soup, pour that in there. Can't waste a single drop. And then we are just going to be adding in the rest of our sprig of rosemary into here. And then just cover our pot. So it's been about 2 to 3 minutes so far. We're just gonna be sprinkling in some of these cilantro leaves in here. And then we're just gonna cover it and let it cook for another minute or so before we serve. So since our chicken stew is ready, we are gonna go ahead and serve into our nice little bowl over here. The best part is you can serve this chicken stew with ugali, some rice, some potatoes, some pasta if you would like. But this is all for the holidays. So of course we're gonna be serving it with probably some rice. We're gonna go ahead and get ready to dig in shortly. Looks amazing. We're gonna take some of our cilantro leaves. Put these in here. And just like that, our chicken is ready to be devoured. Like I mentioned, you can serve this with whichever starch you prefer. And this is just one of the many ways that I make my chicken, because chicken stew is very popular during Christmas. Another thing that I'd like to share with you guys is this was just half a kilo of the chicken, which I'd mentioned earlier. If you decide to go with the whole kilo, do remember that the cook time would of course change because the chicken needs to cook all the way through on the inside, because you do not want anybody getting sick at your home and then you try to tell them it was Miss Mandi who did that. So remember, the more chicken you have, the more cook time you would need, especially for your chicken. I need to get a fork in order to dig into this. It's so hot. So tender, so flavorful. And this sauce is in heaven. I want to go ahead and go make my starch for this amazing chicken stew that I have here. But before I love and leave you, I would like to say, if you love this recipe, of course you did, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. If you're looking forward to more Throwdown recipes within this Kenyan Christmas Throwdown series, make sure to give this video a thumbs up as well. Go ahead and comment below. Let me know what are some of your favorite ingredients to include into your chicken stew. And lastly, if you haven't subscribed yet, that's what you need to do. Until the next video from me, Miss Mandi, it's peace, love. Don't forget that chicken grease. I'm so glad you're loving the videos since they're back. And I can't wait to be back with more food.